Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Here's what the goal is today, and I'm going to wing it a little bit, but I feel like it's necessary. If you've been around a while, you know that one of the OG segments here, that predates even Laughing at the Enemy, I believe, that kind of went away, and I don't really know why exactly, but it just did, that I think needs to come back, at least in some capacity, and I'm going to try. And the biggest thing that triggers that is we've gone so far the other direction into, like, pure analytics on game day, you know what I mean? We got to get back to a little bit of hype on game day. And so, I'm not going to scrap the betting stuff, but I do want to minimize that and then add in a throwback segment that was formerly known as Positivity Sunday. And this used to be an every Sunday thing, or Monday or Thursday or whatever. But essentially, it's all analytics get thrown out the window. Nothing matters anymore. We win, you lose, we're awesome, you suck. That's the crux of it. In a nutshell. And so, nice, clean, and easy, the segments today. News and notes. Sunday NFL action, which is overview, which games matter, a little bit of betting stuff, etc. And then we're going to save the best for last and at least attempt to bring back Positivity Sunday. We'll see how it goes. With that said, we got to rock and roll, so let's get to the news. It's not bad news. First bit of news that's pretty exciting. Packers make receiver swap, bring up Jaden Reed to active roster, says Justice Mosqueda. The fact that they did not have to do this for Jaden Reed is essentially telling that he will be playing in this game. They're using up a roster spot. It doesn't make sense to use up a roster spot for a guy that's just going to not play. So Jaden Reed is back. To what capacity, I don't know. Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be full go? Is he going to be on a pitch count? How much of a pitch count? I don't know any of that information. The somewhat surprising move is that to accommodate that Reed addition, the Packers released wide receiver Malik Heath. Now, last time we really saw Heath, he was not making a super great impact, dropping passes, etc. But still, I mean, he's done some good stuff for the Packers. It's a little surprising to see him just get dropped outright, but the Packers at this point are overloaded with wide receivers, and I suppose this is just the thing that makes the most sense. When you have Dobbs and Wicks and Watson and Reed and Golden, Malik is essentially wide receiver 6 right now on the team. The other interesting bit of news, they claimed defensive lineman. Remember, they just did this recently. They just added a defensive lineman. We talked about him. He's not a good defensive lineman. I have no idea why we like him, but I guess we do. They claimed defensive lineman Quentin Bohanna. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, why do I know that guy's name? And I'm still not quite sure why it's, like, so memorable to me, other than I know he's a massive human being. And it eventually occurred to me that he was a Seattle Seahawk. But otherwise, I don't know. It must have been a college thing or something. But added a massive body to our defensive line, and Quentin Bohanna listed at 6'4", 327 pounds. Now, again, I am firmly opposed to the idea that because you are massively overweight that you're somehow going to help us against the run. The Packers seem to really like these guys. In fact, PFF lists him at 360, which was definitely make him much more memorable than the whatever I said before. But he has played 600 snaps in 5 years. He's played 38 snaps the last 2 years. 2025, he's played 32 snaps for the Seattle Seahawks. So he started off in Dallas, 2 years in Dallas. Year 3, they ship him off to Tennessee. He spends a half a year there. After that year, they ship him off to Seattle. He plays 6 snaps. The next year, 32 snaps. Then he goes to the practice squad. The Packers pick him up, put him on the active roster, etc. But freaking monstrous, massive human being. 56 run defense grade. Now, that's not terrible. However, really small sample size. Last year was a 62. Not terrible. That's 6 snaps. The year before that was a 65. That was his best year. That was 113 snaps, 75 against the run. Pretty small sample size. The years where he actually played was in Dallas, 264 snaps and 224 snaps. His run defense grades those years were 42 and 29. Now, granted, those were his first 2 years, and it was in the opposite order, 29, then 42. He's been better ever since, so maybe he is actually improving. I don't know. Because the snaps are so small, it's useless to try to interpret any of this. But we'll see how it goes, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully very well. In other news, good old MVS has been elevated from the practice squad. On which team? The Steelers. Rodgers is back this week, and so is MVS. So there you go. Otherwise, around the NFL, sources around the NFL, including some within the Las Vegas Raiders organization, have been wondering if head coach Pete Carroll will survive the season with 5 games remaining. That would be a pretty unfortunate way for him to go out, but keep an eye on that, I suppose. And then finally, sources around the league believe Kyler Murray may have played his final game with the Arizona Cardinals, and it wouldn't be a surprise for a lot of league executives if the Cardinals decide to move on from Murray during the offseason. Talked about that a little bit yesterday as a possibility, and it's getting some legs already, apparently. All right, let's take an early break. Give us a little bit extra time for the rest of this goodness. We'll take a look at the upcoming games. We'll be right back. Alrighty, let's get into it. I should mention, part of the reason that I do want to keep doing the betting thing on top of it is that I've actually given some pretty good advice, and I continue to make money. In fact, although this doesn't necessarily count, I will mention I did bet on Detroit to win. So that was just a hedge bet, which I will be doing again for Packers-Bears, by the way. You can call me a coward if you want, but I don't care. It's worth it to me. So that bet is already locked and loaded. It's not the Bears to win, by the way. I'm just betting the 6.5 for the Bears. So if the Packers win by 6, still a win. Okay, let's see what we got this week. Because I've got so many different things, it would make sense to go in a certain particular order. But I'm just going to go top to bottom here for where I have my my list or whatever. Saints, Buccaneers. Buccaneers right now have the best odds to win their own division. They're kind of in a two-way race with the Panthers. Panthers have certainly ascended. Buccaneers have started to taper. Seeing this with several teams. We're seeing Cowboys, Eagles, although the Cowboys really shot themselves in the foot by losing. Eagles basically have it locked up, but that was a similar thing that seemed to be happening. Panthers at 7-6, Bucks at 7-5. You also have the Jaguars that overtook the Colts as the Colts start their complete and total collapse. The Texans also nipping at their heels and all that fun stuff. But for our sake, it does move the needle a little. Not very much. If we lose this game, we have a 77% chance of making the playoffs. It goes up to 79 if the Saints win. Down to 76 if the Saints lose. Very minor, but it is a thing. Ultimately, we're rooting for the Saints, but it doesn't really matter. As for my DVOA prediction, I've got Tampa right at 25-26 points, 25.5. New Orleans somewhere between 14 and 19, putting the official score prediction at, call it 26-17. That would put the spread at Tampa -9. The spread right now is 8.5, so as for the total, I have it at 42. They have it at 42, actually. So bang on with that. So nothing big there mathematically. As for the pro bettors, the sharps, as some people would say, they're leaning heavily toward the Saints. Number one is the whole fade the public thing. The public is on Tampa. Betting against the public has been fantastic this year, so that's number one. Public generally is just extremely anti-New Orleans for obvious reasons. Tampa Bay also 0-4 against the spread their last 4 games. Road teams 10-1 against the spread in the last 11 meetings between the Saints and the Buccaneers. New Orleans 17-2 against the spread in their last 19 road rematches, making the Saints 8.5 plus 8.5 his bet. So I'll probably stay away from this game. Although I think what I'm going to do is massively up how much I'm betting per game. Kind of go for broke at the end of the season here. And so I might make this just a really low bet on the Saints. I think that's what I'll do. Let's have some fun. Dolphins-Jets, obviously no impact on us whatsoever. As for my mathematical modeling, I got the Jets at exactly 21.2. That's wild. Miami between 21 and 25, with the score prediction being 21.2 for the Jets at home, 22.8 for Miami away. So I've got the Jets 1.6. Vegas has the Jets at plus 2.5. As for the total, I've got 44. Vegas has it 41, so there's not a ton of room there either. As for the sharp narrative, a big recurring theme is to fade Tua in the cold. Tua is 0-8 straight up in games where the temperature is below 40 degrees. Forecasts predict temperatures in the 20s and 30s. It's a major factor driving action toward the Jets. Funny enough, the Jets are already up to plus 3. And I think I'm just going to stay away from this one entirely. However, I forgot about Mr. Man behind the curtain. Let's see if he can sway me here. He has Dolphins minus 3. There's a few minus 2.5 out there. Dolphins have been playing better lately. Sharp money's on the Dolphins, moving from 2.5 to 3, which is what I was just noticing. Tua is 6-0 straight up, 4-2 against the spread versus the Jets. Yeah, this is why I'm not touching it. I'm just not. Tua's terrible in the cold. He's great against the Jets. Cold weather game, low scoring, lots of punting. I'm not touching this. Man behind the curtain says Dolphins minus 3 if you're interested. I'm not touching it. Don't like it. Seahawks, Falcons. This game is actually very similar to the Buccaneers and Saints. If I have it with the Bears winning, the difference is from us to 77% up to 79 if the Falcons win, down to 76 if the Seahawks win. And then if we look at getting the number 1 seed, so this is where if you want to get a good picture of it, you have us winning out. So if we win out, we have a 73% chance. That goes up to an 85% chance if the Falcons beat the Seahawks. This is also even more so true with the Cardinals-Rams, which I doubt that's going to go our way. We'll get there when we get there. Well, this is a much bigger game if we start looking a little bigger. So Packers win, Falcons win. We are taking a massive step in the direction of that number 1 seed. If the Seahawks win, even with us winning out, our odds drop to 69%. As for the spread here, it has Seahawks minus 7. As for my scores here, I've got the score 18 to 28-ish. Official spread I have at 9.7 points for the Seattle Seahawks. Vegas has it at 6.5, so it's actually up to 7 already, so it is moving against me a little bit. But still a little tempting to look at the Seahawks here. Total is at 44.5. I have it at 45.5, so that's not really worth touching. Man behind the curtain likes the Falcons plus 7. Sharp money bought the hook on the key number, dropping this to plus 7. Some books might be moving to 6.5 as I write this. Seahawks are shaping up to be one of the biggest public sides of the week. I like the buy low, sell high spot here as the Falcons just lost outright to the Jets as favorites, but clearly outplayed them, while the Seahawks shut out the Vikings last week and are 4-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 5 games. Projections have this line at 5.5, showing a 1.5 of value. Teams coming off a win who have 70% win percentage, 60% against the spread win percentage, are winning by 10-plus points per game in December or later, and are 51, 81, and 5 against the spread, 39% since 2003. Teams coming off a shutout win and are now away favorites are 24, 32, and 1, which is 42%. Home underdogs of 7 or more are 80, 50, and 3 against the spread, 62% the last 5 seasons. I have a league trend based on betting against teams with a high ATS margin week 6 or later. These teams are typically overvalued in the market. Fading them is 173, 124, and 4, which is 58.3% since 2001. All right, so that is now conflicting with my model very slightly tempting me to play Seattle, and man behind the curtain saying Falcons are the better play. Let's see what the tiebreaker says with the... By the way, all this is, because you'll notice that sometimes there's a conflict where the man behind the curtain says the sharp money is over here, and I'm like, well, the sharps say this, and it's the opposite. What I'm referring to is I've got about 30 different sources. These are articles, YouTube things, or whatever, and not just random like CBS nonsense with former players. Actual betting people from like VSIN or whatever that do this for a living type of thing. Those type of sources. They don't encompass all of the sharp money, not even a small fraction, but they kind of give a little bit of insight into that thinking. Hoping to be swayed here because I really want to play a lot of money. I want to start getting a little crazy. I don't know if I'm just getting reckless because I don't know what, but screw it. Let's have some fun. You know what I'm talking about? I've got more money in here than I ever have, and I intend to end the season with $0, so I'm going the wrong direction. I'm in the triple digits. I'm either going to get to the quadruple digits or I'm going to 0. That's it. There's no in between. Strong consensus on the home dog. Despite the Seahawks coming off a dominant 26-0 shutout and the Falcons struggling, the sharp consensus is overwhelmingly on Atlanta +7. This is primarily a fade the public and sell high buy low spot. So that's exactly what man behind the curtain said. Multiple analysts point out the Seattle's 26-0 win last week masked a terrible offensive performance. Wager Talks BP notes Seattle only gained 219 total yards and Sam Darnold posted his lowest QBR of the season. Matt Uman agrees, called Darnold's 128-yard performance a dud. Then we got Steve Merrill posting almost the same stats as man behind the curtain here, actually, which is funny. Analysts highlight that Atlanta blitzes the second highest rate in the league since Darnold struggled mightily against Minnesota's blitz last week. There's an expectation he will struggle again here. All right, you know what? Screw it. I'm sold. To what degree? Not a massive degree, but a little bit of a degree. Shut your stupid face with your threat-detected nonsense. What do I do here? I don't even know. I shouldn't get too crazy, but I want to get a little crazy. All right, putting some money on the Falcons. It'll make watching football a little bit. You know, you got more on the line here. Actual money as opposed to like something you can't even buy anything at the dollar store with. Next up, we got Colts and Jaguars. Again, nothing for us here. The Colts are just 2-point favorites. This is one where the difference is minor, but also kind of major. I have the final score, Jacksonville 23.4, Indy 22.5, which makes Jacksonville about a 1-point favorite as opposed to being a 2-point underdog. But it's only about a 3-point difference from what Vegas has, so it's still relatively close. But it's worth noting, and is worth considering, depending on what everybody else has to say, actually betting on the Jaguars' money line here. As for the total, there's some weeks where I just bet nothing but totals. It's just right on the line every single time here. Almost exact. They have it at 46. I have it at 45.9. Dumb. You know what I mean? Freaking dumb. Trying to give away my money here, and you guys are just like, nah, it's a bad game. Don't do this game. All right. Man behind the curtain, of course, says Colts money line. I'll play it safe and take the juice here with the money line. A lot of books have this minus 125, but I'm good up to minus 130, and I'll grade it at that. The line stinks and is very telling to me. This is an auto bet every time I see this. The Colts offense has slowed down, managing just 36 points combined in back-to-back losses. Meanwhile, the Jags have won 4 out of 5 in 3 straight, including 35-6, 25-3 beatdowns. The Jags are also 16-3-1 against the spread in head-to-head matchups against the Colts since 2015. Throw in the fact that this one is in Jacksonville. And tell me why the Colts are this tiny of a favorite here. When the books tell you what to bet, you listen. That's a fair point. Everything is screaming the Jaguars should be massive favorites here. Or at least favorites here. I mean, just based on that last paragraph, you would have to assume it's, 4-point, 5-point favorites for the Jaguars? And the Colts are 2-point favorites? Playing the buy low, sell high, Jags have gone 3-0 straight up and against the spread the last 3 games. Indy is 1-3 straight up and against the spread their last 4 games. Now listen, this is essentially why I decided, despite talking all kinds of trash, to throw my money on Detroit against Dallas. My instinct, everything in me said Dallas is the better bet and might actually win the game. They got freaking blown out. And the reality is, everything that was inching me toward Dallas was based on very recent information. And maybe it's real information. Maybe one team really is ascending and the other team actually is kind of going down. But the fact of the matter is, at any point during the season, with the exception of maybe this week and maybe the week before, everybody would have known Detroit is going to beat the living dog crap out of Dallas in Detroit. Now, it does make me a little nervous because the whole Colts being really good thing felt fake to begin with, unlike Detroit, who's been pretty solid for several years. But it is worth noting that, especially when, again, Vegas is kind of hinting at that. Both power ratings and projections have the Colts winning this game. John Hussey is the lead ref in the game. An average of about 41.5% of Hussey's penalties are assessed via an all-important false start off-hold combination. The Jaguars rank as the number one penalized team in the NFL and do struggle via the false start offensive holding combination. I have a league trend based on road divisional teams who lost their previous game as a favorite. Those teams are about 68%. All right. Well, let's see what everybody else has to say. Maybe we'll be betting the Colts here. It doesn't feel that bad because I don't like the Jaguars. The Jaguars are kind of like the Packers to me, as much as I hate to say it because I want to just pretend the Packers are awesome all the time. But the Packers are pretty inconsistent. The Jaguars are that way too. There are times they look really impressive, but you don't expect them to be really impressive all the time. You expect them to let you down all the time. They're just never going to be this awesome team every week. So, first of all, Daniel Jones is the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts and is currently playing through a fractured fibula. So that's important to note. There's a strong consensus among several expert handicappers to back the Jaguars as home underdogs, with many arguing they should actually be the favorites. Doc Sports explicitly states the wrong team is favored and recommended taking the Jaguars. They cite that the Colts have fallen off, losing 3 of their last 4. They do not trust the team playing on the road in December, whereas Jacksonville has won 3 straight. But again, this is kind of the point, right? Everybody sees it. It's just a question of is it real or not. Joey P. and the Welsh from Betting Pros call the Jaguars their upset special. They point to the historical trend that the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014 and emphasize that Daniel Jones is immobile due to his leg injury. What the heck is wrong with his leg now? Oh, fibula is in the leg. I was thinking scapula. So, here's the thing, and maybe I just misread this before. I saw this on social media, and I could swear the story had something to do with giving him some kind of a thing for his collarbone. Fractured fibula? How do you play with a fractured fibula? Although I might have a fractured fibula right now, to be honest with you. There are levels to this thing. I don't think it's actually fractured, but it's pretty bad. Tyler Shoemaker's T-Shoe Index projects the Jaguars as 1-point favorites. That's essentially what I have as well, suggesting significant value on them as underdogs. Dave Tooley has the Jaguars plus 7.5 as his favorite teaser leg of the week, arguing the line should be a pick'em, and loves getting a home underdog through the key numbers of 3 and 7. You also do have some people like Kenny Ducey from the Action Network saying Jacksonville is a pretender, believes the Colts are the true contenders. I'll probably just leave it alone. Come on, guys. Would you just let me? I want to be sold on the Colts thing. It is enticing to look at it and say, you have an injured quarterback on a crap team that has completely fallen off a cliff. On the road, in Jacksonville, against a hot Jacksonville team that is lighting everybody up. And the Colts are favored with their quarterback with a fractured leg. Something doesn't make sense here. But I might just let this one pass me by here. Again, it's one of those things where it's like, I just want to see it first. But once you see it, you missed your opportunity. That's the whole point. That's the buy low, sell high. Once everybody sees it, then everybody's in on the Colts again, and there goes all your money. But there's just not enough. I bought it when it came to Dallas. Kind of bought it. Again, it was sort of a hedge bet. But this one, I don't know. We'll see. All right, Commanders-Vikings. This one's kind of interesting because I don't know who I'm betting on here or who I'm rooting for. Again, I think I'm actually going to be rooting for the Minnesota Vikings. So the Vikings season is over. If I look at the old New York Times simulator and I have the Vikings winning out the rest of the season, they still have a less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. Less than 1%. It'll go up if the Bears win it'll put them up to about 2%. And then next week, if the Broncos beat the Packers, they go up to about 3%. And if the Falcons beat the Buccaneers, it's 5%. And you know what I mean? It's over. It's done. They're freaking cooked. So what is it we want? Well, what I would like is for them to have not very good draft position. I'd like them to win games. And they've got some winnable games coming up. I don't think they beat the Lions. I don't think they beat the Packers. They probably don't beat the Cowboys. But Commanders and Giants, there's potentially 2 wins in there for them. Currently, as it stands, the Vikings have the number 11 pick in the draft. I'm okay with that. Outside of the top 10, perfectly fine. But if they keep losing and losing and losing, they're going to drift into the top 10. They're not getting the number 1 pick. That's not going to happen. I already simulated that. In fact, if they lose the rest of the season, it's still a less than 1% chance that they get the number 1 pick. Tennessee has 1 win. The Giants, Saints, and Vegas all have 2. And so you'd have to have all these teams get to 4 wins, probably more than 4, because tiebreakers would keep them still below. It's never going to happen. But they could certainly get inside the top 10, and I don't want that. And what's more, it would be great if they could actually, go ahead and move up the list a little bit. Although that's going to be tough because, I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The Vikings winning is going to be probably a good thing. But I'm not going to sit here and cry if they lose. We'll just leave it at that. Minnesota and Washington. Right now, the Commanders are 1-point favorites in this game. This one must be moving a lot. Maybe it has to do with recent injury news or something. I don't know. But the data that I plugged in was pretty recent, and it had the Vikings as 1-point favorites. I don't know. But according to the model I have, which is always iffy when you're dealing with some weird injury situations and whatnot, and teams that just fluctuate and everything, it's kind of weird. But Minnesota 3.5-point favorites. I have the official score prediction: Washington 19.2, Minnesota 22.2. It's only 2.5-point difference between the spread. Again, it's too freaking close. As for the total, again, really close. It's currently at 43.5. I have it at 41.5. That's no good. So let's see what the man behind the curtain says. He says Vikings plus 1.5. Close enough. I'll take the small dog here with the Vikings. Might be able to get a better number closer to game time. How about Vikings plus 1? Is that good? Line flipped from Vikings being a favorite to the Commanders being a favorite when the news came out Daniels will play. There's your answer. Again, also why it's weird, because part of with the mathematical stuff is you're taking into account games where you had different quarterbacks playing, and this is true for the Vikings and the Commanders. And then you've got him coming back, but he's also coming back and probably not fully healthy, so it just makes me feel a little... When it comes to the math, the more consistent, the better. This is an overreaction in the market. First game back from an injury is a bet against for me. Injured quarterback angles were great to start the year and have cooled off, but I think it turns around here. As bad as the quarterback situation has looked in Minnesota, they'll finally get to face a below-average unit after playing a bunch of top 10 defenses, and I really like the Vikings' defense. Flores schemed up a gem of a game versus Seattle. The scoreboard showed 26 points, but the offense, Brosmer, was largely responsible for all the points. I'm almost certain JJ didn't actually have a concussion. It definitely wasn't handled as if he had a concussion. Weird rumor going around here, but I was still willing to back Minnesota, as this is one of the best pure situational spots on the board this week. The first game back angle is much stronger to bet against Washington in a spot than it is Minnesota. Commanders have nothing to play for, and those teams only really get up for primetime and divisional games at this point in the season. They played well last Sunday night and almost beat the Broncos, and I see this as a letdown spot. Sharp money on both sides of this game. I'm expecting sharp money to hit the Vikings on game day as the public is already all over the Commanders. Both power ratings and projections have the Vikings as favorites. All right, so I mean that pretty well lines up. Again, I do think this is moved in my favor a little bit here. I have Minnesota at 3.2-point favorites compared to Washington at -1. So that actually does kind of widen this out a little bit as compared to what I initially had it at, which was Minnesota -1. Let's do our final check here. Please don't tell me to not bet this because I want to. While the public might be down on the Vikings after their 26-0 shutout last week, the sharp consensus sees this as a prime buy low opportunity, arguing the market has overreacted. I'm loving this. I'm betting. I'm freaking done. That's good enough for me. Whole bunch of guys in here giving a bunch of data saying the Vikings are the play. I'm doing it. I'm all in. I don't feel super great about it because it's supposed to be kind of close, but I feel good enough that I'm going to wager a good, solid wager here. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Baltimore -6 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is one of the biggest ones as far as the old DVOA model goes, because I've actually got the score here, 24.2 for Pittsburgh and 22.7 for Baltimore. That would make Pittsburgh a 1.5 point favorite as opposed to Baltimore at -6, which is a spread or a difference of 7.5. So as of right now, pending what everybody else has to say, I'm very interested in the Steelers in this game. Got nothing from the man behind the curtain, which is good. I don't need to be dissuaded from my bad decisions here. Says there's a sharp split on how to handicap this game, though the majority of the specific experts cited favor taking the points with Pittsburgh. That's what I'm talking about. Case for the Steelers, historical trends. Multiple experts cite Tomlin's incredible record as an underdog. We've been talking about that all year. Tomlin's 38-19-1 against the spread. The Harbaugh-Tomlin rivalry, 24-7-3 against the spread. Marco D'Angelo argues the Steelers hit rock bottom last week when the home crowd booed the defensive hype song Renegade during a blowout loss to Buffalo. He believed this embarrassment combined with the rivalry makes them a live dog. Analysts point out Baltimore's not playing like a juggernaut either, having failed to cover 3 straight games and committing 5 turnovers last week. There's also a case for the Ravens, but I won't be reading that. All right. Cincinnati-Buffalo, AFC game, no real interest to us. Buffalo 6-point favorites. This is another one that has one of the biggest, as far as the model is concerned. I have the official score 35.6 for Buffalo to 20.9 for Cincinnati. Now, I will point out the last time I did this, it was a team that I don't remember who it was, but the team that played Cincinnati, the model, obviously because of how bad their defense is, said that Cincinnati was going to get absolutely blown out, and that did not happen. But, can't be right every time. But that's 14.7 points for Buffalo as opposed to the market putting it at -6 for Buffalo. Again, we got nothing from the man behind the curtain, but of course, ruined my dreams. Projected to be a high-scoring affair despite potential winter weather, with a strong consensus forming around the underdog and specific running back props. There's a distinct dog or pass mentality among the veteran handicappers, with a strong lean towards Cincinnati keeping this close. Steve McKinnon, Dave Tooley, and Matt Humans all recommended betting the Bengals plus the points. The rationale is that Cincinnati's offense looked revitalized with Joe. That's a good point, with Joe Burrow coming back. And Jamar Chase against Baltimore on Thanksgiving. Defense has shown improvement against the run. Experts note that while the Bills' defense performed well against the Steelers last week, they generally struggled to put lesser teams away. Kenny Ducey argues that even without Trey Hendrickson, the Bengals' offense should keep pace with Buffalo's defense that has looked suspect over the last 5 weeks. Fine, I'll do a very modest bet on the Bengals. Very modest, all right? Titans-Browns. The Browns are 4-point favorites, which is hilarious. I actually have it 6.9 points for Cleveland on the DVOA model. I have the official score prediction, 17.8 for Cleveland at home, 10.9 points for Tennessee. Man behind the curtain has Tennessee as teaser of the week plus 10. Titans are getting too many points the way it is with an insanely low total of 34. I'll take the extra 6 points here as I can see this game being decided by more than one possession. On a side note, these very low total games tend to still go under, which is correlated with a dog covering. Also, see the above trend that fits the betting against Jets and Browns. Some other notes, dogs off a loss of 20 or more. 54.5% makes the Titans a good option at +4. Titans-Browns, the only weather game with winds projected 12 miles per hour, possible snow. Titans and under both options, could even tease both. It's interesting. What is the total sitting at? 34? I hate that it's so low. I know it's going to be low, but yeah, it's pretty low. Dumpster fire consensus. Sharps and experts universally categorize this game as the ugliest on the board. 2 struggling teams with rookie quarterbacks. Toilet paper roll game. Andy Lang described this game as an empty toilet paper roll flimsy and useless. Sounds like it's pretty split here. Case for the Titans +4. Steve Merrill, Teddy covers lean toward the Titans +4. Logic is you simply cannot lay more than a field goal with a 3-win Browns team. Merrill notes that while Tennessee is a pure play against, the Browns are a public play solely because no one wants to bet on the Titans. Case for the Browns, Andy Lang argues laying the points with Cleveland. He cites the miserable conditions for a Southern team playing in Cleveland and expects the Titans to be unmotivated. He points out the Titans have lost 7 straight games, and Cam Ward has been sacked a league worst 48 times. I'm just not touching it. I'm going to leave it alone. Not doing it. Broncos Raiders. Broncos are 7.5-point favorites. I've got the line at 7.5, so that's almost exact. The total, I've got a difference of 3, so that's also relatively close. The specific score prediction, I have it Denver 22.6, Raiders 14.9. Experts are leaning on the fade the public on the Broncos. Distinct consensus among the expert handicappers to back the Raiders +7.5 largely as a strategy to fade the public and bet against the Broncos team that wins but rarely covers big numbers. Jesse Shule calls Denver the phoniest 10-2 team I've ever seen, noting Bo Nix as having a sophomore slump. He advised bettors to hold your nose and take the Raiders. We'll be talking about that a lot next week. It's going to have a lot less. Nobody's going to care if we lose to the Bears, but it is what it is. The Bears are a very fake team. Denver is a fake team. New England is a pretty fake. All the best teams, it's a weird year, not really as good as their record would indicate. Multiple analysts highlight a specific trend. While Denver has won 9 straight games, they're not winning by margin. Steve Merrill and BP from Wager Talk note that 7 of Denver's last 8 wins have come by 4 points or fewer. They argue that laying 7.5 points with a team that consistently plays one-score games is a bad bet. Steve Merrill identifies this as a classic fade the public spot. The public sees the 9-game win streak and bets Denver, inflating the line from a summer look-ahead of 3.5 to the current 7.5. For those unwilling to bet on the Raiders, Tooley and Merrill suggest Broncos as a 6-point teaser. All right, screw it. Why not? I'll bet it. Feeling a little froggy. We'll go Raiders. It's also worth mentioning it is a divisional game, and anytime there's a big spread on a divisional game, it's not like it's a massive spread at 7.5, but it's kind of a, you never know. We will skip Packers-Bears. Save that for last. Rams-Cardinals. Rams are 10-point favorites. I have it at 12.2. Again, pretty close, about 2-point difference. Official score prediction 31.6 to 19.3 in favor of the Rams. Total is also relatively close. Vegas has it at, let's see if it's different. No, 47.5. I've got it at 50.9. Got to remember, too, the quarterback is not playing, so some of this is going to be a little bit iffy. And you could say that actually helps. I mean, it doesn't help the over, but it might help actually with the spread. But anytime you've got a different quarterback coming in, it's not always necessarily just going to be awesome for the team going up against the backup. You know what I mean? Nothing from the man behind the curtain, so we'll take a look at what some of the pros have to say. Split opinion on the spread, largely centering on whether the Cardinals continue their trend of keeping games close despite losing. So it looks pretty split. Got nothing from the man behind the curtain. DVOA is not really very convincing, so we're just going to walk away from this one. I'll read really quickly a couple cases in case you're interested. Case for the Cardinals. Analysts argue Cardinals are better than their 3-9 record. BP from Wager Talk notes that 7 of Arizona's 9 losses this season have been by 4 points or fewer, recommends taking the points with the home dog, noting they're 14-6 against the spread. In their last 20 games, Teddy covers, says the Cardinals have been shockingly competitive. Dave Tooley makes the Cardinals +8 one of his best bets, citing it as an anti-swagger play against the Rams team coming off a loss. Case for the Rams. Steve McKinnon highlights the Rams' dominance in the specific rivalry. Rams 9-1 straight up and against the spread their last 10 trips to Arizona. Merrill agrees with the public here, arguing Rams are a solid team coming off a turnover luck loss. Cardinals have lost 9 of their last 10 and cannot be trusted. All right, whatever. If I had to say which one swayed me more, I would probably lean Cardinals, but I'm going to leave it alone. And then the last Sunday game that is not Packers-Bears, we got Texans and Chiefs. The Chiefs just 4-point favorites. This one is very tight for DVOA as far as the actual spread is concerned. Vegas has it at 4. I've got it at 4.6. Official score prediction, Kansas City 21, Houston 16.5. The total, though, is a little bit interesting if you're going to bet one. There's a 4-point difference here. Vegas 41.5. Is that still? Oh, it's up to 42. I've got it at 37.5. Makes it even a half a point more enticing. I might just do it. Let's see what everybody else has to say. Boom, man behind the curtain. Texans Chiefs under 41.5. Love it. We're on the same page. How about that, huh? Not much to say about this one. This is basically just a team profile matchup where I like both teams to play good defenses, run the ball, and chew up the clock while struggling to score. 41's a key number, and I like anything at that number or higher. And again, it actually went up. Maybe that's bad that it went up, but it did. Primetime unders are 227, 165, and 7, which is 57.9% since 2018. When the Chiefs are home favorites with totals between 39 and 56, the under is 66.1%. See what the pros have to say here. Must-win desperation versus metric dominance. The handicap community is split between backing the desperate home team and the statistically superior road dog. Again, it's very split. I'm not really interested because I'm more interested in the total, and they don't really comment on that, so I'm just going to go ahead and bet it. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we've been on the same page, so you got to feel good about that. Man, if I have a bad week, if this is a bad week, I'm out of money. That's all right. I don't care. It's all funny money anyways. I'm never cashing this thing out. It's just going to sit there and be able to play with. All right, Bears, Packers. Packers been very steady at 6.5, at least from what I've seen. I know you can probably get 7 somewhere, apparently, because that's what my thing says. But 6.5 is what I've seen consistently throughout. I have the Packers actually at 8.8 points, which is great. Official score prediction, 28.1 to 19.3. It's not necessarily a great game to, again, I've already placed a hedge bet, so it doesn't matter, but not a great game to bet as far as the spread is concerned. It's pretty close. Total, let's see what it's at, 44. So it has gone down a little bit. I actually have it over at 47.3. Still a little close, but potentially worth betting the over on that. Just as an off the top of the dome analysis thing, now that you mention it, 44 is relatively low. The Green Bay Packers are a top 5 offense. The Bears are a terrible defense, not including, the takeaways. As far as points and yards and everything, they can give up a lot. The Bears' offense is also not terrible, and as I said, the Packers' defense has slipped out of the top 10 as far as, some metrics like DVOA are concerned. They are on a downward trajectory. The potential for this to be a relatively high-scoring game, depending on weather, I mean, if it's just cold, I don't really care. The only reason I kind of care is because you might have two teams trying to establish the run, especially Chicago. But if the Packers score a couple touchdowns, that's out the window anyways, and we're throwing. Although the Packers defense has done a good job of keeping points low. I don't know. Just a thought. Just a thought on that. Man behind the curtain's making me extremely nervous here because he's making the same bet he does every week, and that's betting against the luck of the Chicago Bears. He says, well, here we go again. I'm going to bet against the Bears' luck metrics and what seems to be a theme for me every week. A pro group came in early at -6, so I'll take the same number they did, which is a key number. Plenty of -6 at -120 out there, but I'll grade it slightly more juiced. This number will most likely get to -7 on game day. I'd still lay the -7 if I couldn't get -6 at a decent price. Pros versus Joes in this one is the Bears are shaping up to be a huge public dog, which, by the way, I've said this before, Bears fans will back their team pretty heavily, especially this year, and I'm sure they're making a lot of money this year because it's actually panning out, but they tend to overinflate their own team a lot. And so when Vegas comes in, I mean, you've heard it all over social media and everything else. They view this as maybe a coin flip game. They probably see it as Chicago is slightly better. We'll say Green Bay is slightly ahead with the home field advantage. But when you're talking -7 or -6.5, they're going to slam Chicago. And I'm sure it's not just Bears fans, but this is a trend for a long time. Money will slam Chicago. And Bears, because I know that because Bears fans brag about that all the time. Everybody's betting on the Bears. Like that's some kind of a big tell of how good they are or something. Oh, all the money's on the Bears. What's up with that? It's like, yeah, it's you guys doing that. He says, pros versus Joes in this one, as the Bears are shaping up to be a huge public dog and is currently the most bet public side of the week, which is a red flag. I'm expecting a motivated Packers team after Ben Johnson's comments this offseason. This will be the 5th Chicago versus Green Bay matchup officiated by referee Craig Rolstad. I actually did do quite a bit of looking into this Rolstad thing. We'll see what he has to say, but there's one intriguing note that I noticed. In the past 5 seasons and the 6th in his career, Green Bay is 4-0 straight up and against the spread at Lambeau Field with Rolstead, and the Packers are 5-0 straight up and against the spread versus the Bears in Rolstead officiated contests. Rolstead led the NFL in pre-snap penalty percentage in 2024, although he's dialed it back in 2025. Despite that, he still ranks above the NFL averages in pre-snap infractions enforced. Noteworthy, 61% of Rolstad's pre-snap infractions are assessed on the road team in 2025. So I did notice the Green Bay Packers' success with Rolstad. It was funny because there was a lot of stuff that I didn't like, and then there were like 3 teams that just have had unique success, and hilariously, it was like the Bengals, somebody else, and then it was the Packers specifically against the Bears. Like that was the thing. Packers, Bears. Me and my half-Mexican attorney were going over some of this stuff, and we were joking that turns out Rolstad, born in Green Bay, Wisconsin, born at the footsteps of Lambeau or something. The other thing that popped up that I found interesting, first of all, we have not had Rolstad this year, which was the one thing that was kind of like, well, why hasn't this thing happened before? One of the things that has happened quite a bit with Rolstad in 2025 is enforcement of offensive holding calls. Obviously, the Packers have been getting absolutely screwed with this, and maybe nobody's going to call these things. Maybe it's just the way that they call it in general, that, Rashawn and Micah, the way that they scoot past people and the arm just happens to drift up around their neck. Maybe officials just don't call it. But if there's ever going to be a week where somebody's going to start actually throwing flags for offensive holding, it seems as though this is the one. So I do actually like this officiating crew. One of the things that I didn't love is that they, at least by somebody's analysis, and this could be previous years, it has been a little different in 2025, he actually tends to favor the away team. Like every time we look at it, it's the home team advantage, home team advantage, home team advantage. This is the away team, which is like, give me a freaking break. But I did get a little excited about the whole Craig Rolstad thing and his crew being a team that favors the Packers specifically against the Bears, and likes to call offensive holding. Bro, can we just keep them forever? He also says home favorites of at least -5.5 were playing a team that won outright as a +6 or higher dog are 106, 64, and 3 against the spread, 62.4%. Some of these things I look at, and it's like, aren't we just saying the good team tends to beat the bad team? I mean, on one side, we have a team that is at least a 5.5 point favorite. We presume that is the better team because they're 5.5 point favorites. And they're playing a team who last week was a 6-point dog. They won, but they were a 6-point dog. I'm guessing more often than not, that is not a very good team. And also, we've already established that they are 5.5 point underdogs. I mean, I guess against the spread should level that out. I don't know. Doesn't matter. See what the experts have to say. This is arguably the most contentious game on the board, featuring a sharp divide between handicappers relying on market principles versus those looking at on-field performance. Case for Green Bay. Steve Merrill identifies the Bears as the public dog of the week, noting that public underdog of 3.5 plus points are historically a strong fade, hitting over 60% this season. He argues the market has over-adjusted to Chicago's 9-1 run and that the Packers are the better current form, having covered 2 of their last 3. He expects Green Bay to exploit the Bears' defense, allowing 6.3 yards per play against teams that average 5.5. The case for Chicago, on the other hand, Dave Tooley argues the line is inflated, stating it should be closer to a pick'em or Packers -3. He points to common opponents. The Bears beat the Eagles, while the common opponent thing is stupid to me. PFF's Judah Fort Gang is betting the Bears' money line, arguing the Packers' defense is very overrated and has generated poor EPA numbers against competent offenses. He believes the Bears' high-floor run game, top 50th percentile success rate, keeps them in games and prevents drive-killing sacks. So there you go. Okie doke. We'll take a break. We'll do some Positivity Sunday. We'll be right back. So, part of the problem with doing this, or the complication from my perspective, is that we've covered so much ground already. Everything that there is to be said has largely been said. But as I'm just kind of perusing, trying to find some content and looking around, like what, Obviously, there's so much arrogant, stupid bull crap. Bears 9-3 for the first time since 2010, heading into Lambeau with Ben Johnson cooking. Revenge game versus Packers loading. Chicago might actually be back. You know, the biggest issue that I have with this, the biggest annoyance that I have, it's certainly not that the Bears are back. My issue is that people are taking this seriously. And not just Bears fans who are brain dead. This tweet that I found here from Pramod Sharma was prompted by Adam Schefter, who basically said the same thing in his tweet. Oh, this is the best team since 2010. Oh my goodness, this is... The biggest issue that I have is that this is being promoted as an actual good game. That this is a game between two powerhouse teams. That this is redemption. That the Bears, who are finally back with their great quarterback and their great coach, finally are in a position to fight at the top of the NFC North and are going to take on their longtime rival to see if they can actually seal their position as the new kings of the North. The narrative annoys me because that's not the situation. I understand Adam Schefter is, you know, to some degree a shill for the NFL, and he wants to promote this as like you always want to make games seem like good games. You don't want to come out and be like, this game actually sucks. But if you wanted to look at what a good game is, you would look generally for two teams that are good teams, and the game is expected to be close. Or, I mean, you could just say close. You could say close and high scoring. It depends what you mean by good. But for example, you wouldn't say Buccaneers-Saints is a good game because the Buccaneers are 8.5-point favorites, which is another way of saying the Buccaneers are significantly better than the Saints, and although it might accidentally be a good game, it's not expected to be a good game because one team is good and one team sucks. A good game would be a situation like Colts-Jaguars. This is a division rivalry. This is for two teams at the top of the division. And they're two teams that apparently are pretty evenly matched because the Colts are just 2-point favorites. And, as we just talked about, maybe the Jaguars should be. Who knows? Who can say? Vikings-Commanders is good for a different reason. They're equally matched, even though nobody gives a crap about either of those teams anymore. You could maybe even say Chiefs-Texans is a pretty good game. There are two teams fighting, scrapping it out in the AFC, and it's 4 points. It's, you know... Chiefs are relatively clear favorites, but it's, you know, kind of good game. The Packers are 6.5-point favorites. That is a similar line to Broncos-Raiders. Buffalo against the Bengals is 6 points. We are bigger favorites than Buffalo over the Bengals. Seattle over the Falcons. Tampa over the Saints. These are very similar lines to our line. You know why? Because it's not actually a good game between two teams. There is one good team, and there's one bad team. BleacherNation.com. For the first time in years, Bears-Packers feels like Bears-Packers again. Not obligatory, not ceremonial, not nostalgic in a sad way. It feels real. It feels heavy. It feels like something is actually at stake. I mean, that part is true. Something is at stake. But it's not real. Based on everything we can see, what this is, understand what it means to be a fraud. It means congratulations on your pile of wins. You will do nothing in the postseason, and next year your record will much more closely reflect what you actually are. Well, what are they? Well, let's look at some of the stats we've already looked at, shall we? If you look at, for example, Pythagorean wins, which is more a reflection of how real your wins are. Patriots. So in order, it would be... Patriots, Seahawks, Rams with 9 wins. Colts with 8 wins. Texans, Chiefs, Broncos, Bills, Packers would be 8 wins. Lions would be 8 wins. On and on and on. Bears, 6.1. 6 wins. For the record, if you have 6 wins, you have 6 losses. 6 and 6. If you look at the teams that are around them based on talent... Cowboys, who are 6-5-1, Ravens at 6-6, Steelers at 6-6. No surprise that all the other teams happen to be 6 wins. You know what's a good example of this? Do you remember last year when we talked about Caleb's interceptions and how he's just the greatest quarterback in the world because of his low interceptions? The reality is Caleb is more lucky than good. If you look at the actual interception numbers, they are low. Not as low as Jordan Love's, but they're very low. He has 5 interceptions. Of guys that have played, similar games with the same amount, Matthew Stafford has 4 interceptions, Jordan Love 3, Jalen Hurts 2. There's other guys that have, less, but they've played less games, 8 or 9 games. But what about interceptable passes? How many passes that were thrown that should have been intercepted? Also known as turnover-worthy plays. Caleb ranks 14th. Not as a percentage, but in total, because interceptions are cumulative. We're looking at the cumulative. The point is, he has thrown 13 passes that coulda, woulda, shoulda been picked. 5 of them were intercepted. To contrast that, do you know that Josh Allen and Justin Herbert are tied for the 3rd least amount of turnover-worthy plays at 9? Do you know how many interceptions they've thrown this year? 10. They both have thrown 9 turnover-worthy plays. They both have thrown 10 interceptions. This is also why interceptions are very much a luck stat, not only for the defense, but the offense. Jordan, if you look at Jordan, he's a very good example of that. Last year, he was extremely unlucky when it came to interceptions. His turnover-worthy play rate was higher, so it was a problem with his with throwing more passes in danger. That is true. But he threw 17 interceptable passes and 14 were intercepted. That's almost a 1-to-1 ratio. That's very high. That's very unlucky. This year, he's thrown 11 interceptable passes and has 3 interceptions. He's very lucky. That's why the actual interception numbers are kind of useless to me. If you want to know how good a quarterback is when it comes to interceptions, you look at things like turnover-worthy play rate. And again, Caleb's decent at it. He's nowhere near as good as the interception numbers that everybody wants to talk about. This is the same thing when we talk about this. The Bears are a 6-win team. Most 6-win teams are at and around, 6. Sometimes, though, 6-win teams will have 4 wins, or 3 wins, or 7, or 8 wins, or in the case of the Bears, 9 wins. If you look at the ELO rankings, and not just the rankings, but how many wins they should have based on their ELO, it's 5.3. 5.3. They are the 8th worst team, or they have the 8th lowest win projection in the NFL based on their ELO score. Jets, Panthers, Browns, Raiders, Saints, Titans, and Giants are the only teams that are lower. Ahead of them, Falcons, Cowboys, Bengals, the 3-9 Cardinals, the 4-8 Vikings, the 3-9 Commanders. This team is not a 9-win football team. They're not different. They're not awakened. They're not a good. They're the 3rd best team in the NFC North, arguably 4th. I don't know about that. But the point is, you have 2 teams at the top, and it's the Packers and the Lions. You have 2 teams at the bottom, and it's the Vikings and the Bears. And if the Vikings can find a mediocre quarterback, they are the 3rd best team in football. The Bears are the 4th team in the NFC. If the Vikings can find a mediocre quarterback, if they bring back Kirk Cousins next year or Aaron Rodgers next year, they will be better than the Bears. Jermaine Moore says, Bears fans are not afraid of the Bears losing to Green Bay. We know the Bears can beat Green Bay if they play their game, which essentially is to say that as long as the Bears show up and don't lay an egg, they should win the game, which is to say they're the better team. Hilarious. There is an aroma of change in the air, and we can feel it. The Bears are future-proof for the first team in years. Future-proof? The hell are you talking about? The only thing working is your tight end, who is, future, and your offensive line, which is made up about 50% of old garbage. By garbage, I just mean old. I just felt like being rude. They're actually quite good. But they gotta go. There's nothing future-proof about your offensive line. Your wide receivers are good, not great, and DJ Moore is not future-proof. So you got one guy that is young and pretty good. Your quarterback sucks. Your running backs are decent, but they're overrated because of that offensive line, which is not future-proof. Your defensive line is maybe the worst in all of football. The only thing that's halfway competent on your defensive line is going to be 30 years old next year. Your corners, when they can stay healthy, are, maybe good, but they've done it for like a year. There's nothing future-proof about this. You need a lot of help to become a better team, and you have a GM that has proved nothing. Not to mention, nobody is going to win with that quarterback. That's not a thing. Courtney Cronin says, the Bears face the Packers twice in 13 days. What Chicago has accomplished in its 9-3 start gives this group extreme confidence heading back to Lambeau Field, where first place in the NFC North is on the line. And I don't doubt she's right. They do have extreme confidence. And that annoys me, because they shouldn't, because they're not actually that good. Bleacher Nation, Bears vs. Packers preview. Caleb Williams returns to Lambeau with a chance to rewrite the rivalry. First of all, if anything gets rewritten, it won't be Caleb writing it, because that dude's bad. Maybe hand Ben Johnson the pen or something. Caleb's not rewriting anything. It's like, oh, Caleb is 1-0 in Lambeau Field. Caleb was dog crap in that game. Okay? That's like saying Jordan Love has been to an NFC Championship game before. He was on the bench behind Rodgers, but he got there. Stop it. So let's do this one more time real slow for the slow people in the back. The Bears have currently scored 313 points in the NFL. It's pretty good. It's 8th. The problem is they've allowed 307 points, which is 25th. By the way, if you measure how good an offense is based on its points, that could potentially be skewed when a team has a very high turnover rate. You know what I'm talking about? Just something to throw out there. The point differential then for the season is +6, which is 0.5 per game. Basically dead even, which is funny because, again, when you look at it, they're roughly a 6-6 team. And then when you look at their point differential, they're playing like about a 500 team. Why does it matter? Who cares about point differential? All that matters is winning. No, all that matters in the standings is winning. However, if I asked you to evaluate how good a team is, and you came at me and said all that matters is winning, I would tell you you're wrong because that's stupid. We're talking about different things. We're not talking about your playoff seeding. I'm asking about the quality of the team. And in that case, no, it's not true that wins are all that matter, because there's too much variability that happens in a game. Another way to look at that is within a certain point spread in a game, you essentially can't determine who the better team is. I can give you an illustration. We see this all the time. What happens in a game where it comes down to the last second and, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, there was this egregious call that gave the team a first down on a fourth down. And of course, if they didn't get that penalty, then it would have been turned around and all this stuff. Everybody's going to lose their mind. They're going to talk a lot about that play. What happens, though, if in that exact same scenario with that play and that bad call, your team lost by 20? Suddenly, nobody gives a crap about that call. Why? Because variables, things that are out of your control, like fluky plays or bad calls by refs or all these things, those can determine the game. Things that are outside of your control, that are outside of the realm of how good you are, can determine the game up to a certain point. To where if it's so close, there's so many variables that, yes, you are awarded the win and good for you, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're better. If you win by 20, those variables don't mean anything anymore because you were so good that we can determine that you were, in fact, the better team regardless of the variables. So no, if your point differential is essentially 0, that's saying that the variables have largely determined the outcome of your record. DVOA, they rank 19th in the NFL, right? Worst DVOA for a 8-win team. I know they're 9-win team now, but this was the stat we had heard all last week prior to their last game. Presumably still one of the worst 9-win teams in DVOA history. Pro Football Reference has their own metric. Simple rating system combines point margin and strength of schedule. They rank 20th with a -2.53. DVOA says they're 19th. SRS says they're 20th. Point differential and all these other metrics say they're about a 500 team. Luck factors. The Bears are 6-1 in one-score games, which are games decided by 8 points or fewer, including wins by margins of +1 twice, +2, +3, +4, and +5. Their only loss by -3. Historically, teams with extreme success in one-score games like the 2022 Vikings or 2011 Broncos often regress, as these outcomes are about 50% luck. So when you hear about like one-score games and you flip them or you normalize them or whatever, that's a real thing. And again, it's because the variables are so much they can't tell you anything. So essentially what you could do, if you wanted to, for all teams, to get a better idea of what their record is, should be, could be, whatever, look at all the one-score games and normalize them. Meaning instead of 6-1, you'd make it 3.5 and 3.5, which would make them what? 6.5 and 5.5 as a football team. What do you know? It puts them right in that same spot. Isn't it funny how all these things kind of come together? How about turnover margin? They're +17, 26 forced, 9 lost, which leads the league by a wide margin. Turnovers are notoriously volatile year to year, and this extreme plus could be inflating their wins. Without it, their defense ranks poorly. 6.1 yards per play allowed, 25th in points against. Some other variables. Their strength of schedule is -3.03, one of the easiest schedules in the NFL so far. This has helped to prop up their record. Their defense, 25th in points allowed, 28th in total defense. Opponents averaging 32.4 yards and 2.18 points per drive. Pass rush win rate, a dismal 23.3%, which ranked 30th. That's not current, but roughly. Overall, analytic outlets like ESPN and The Analyst highlight warning signs, noting the Bears rank just 16th in average point margin despite their .750 win rate, with luck playing a big role in their 4-1 or better close game clip. There is literally, and when I say literally, I mean literally, there is literally nothing that says the Bears are a good team except their record. That's the only thing that says they're a good team. There is nothing else, not a single metric anywhere in the entire universe that points to them being actually one of the top teams in football. Nothing. The Packers, on the other hand, are. They are a top 5 to top 10 team in every single metric. This is not a clash of titans. This is not the Bears going to Lambeau to rewrite anything. And I know this is Positivity Sunday and I'm supposed to keep it 100% positive, but on the off chance the Bears do win, it's still not rewriting anything because at the end of the day, the Packers are still the better team and the Bears are the worst team. That will be the reality the next time we face each other. That'll be the reality in the postseason, and that'll certainly be the reality come 2026. And you can cling as tight to that record as you want. Grab it and squeeze it and hold on for dear life, because you're going to sink with that ship. And I'll be here to celebrate it whenever that ends up inevitably happening. Hopefully today. But if not, I'll be here. I'm out of here. Y'all have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
211 times we done this. You still ain't learned. It's the pack attack. Better watch your back. Caleb Williams about to get his spine cracked. 58%. Boy, you can't complete. Michael Parsons coming. Better move your feet. 12.5 sacks. He a different beast. Traded from Dallas. Now he running east. You snapped our streak. One game, that's cute. 11 straight losses, that's your absolute truth. 2-16 in the last 10 years. Bears fans crying, I could taste the tears. Chicago, what happened? You thought you was back. One lucky win don't change the facts. 14-44 across 30 years. That's your legacy, losing in tears. No mercy coming. Lambeau's the slaughterhouse. Jordan Love deal and he throwing you out. No mercy coming. No mercy. Bear season open. 19 touchdowns, 3 picks, Love's chosen. Yeah. LaFleur went 11-0 against your squad. Before you fluke one, man, that's gotta be fraud. Josh Jacobs eating. 11 rushing scores, your defense soft. He running through doors, 731 yards, and he ain't done yet. Fourth quarter, fourth down, place your bets. Ben Johnson scheming, but we see through the plays. Jeff Hafley's defense about to ruin his day. Ralph Shawn, Gary Hunting, Edger and Cooper too. 86 tackles, what your line gon' do? Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams deep. Best safety tandem that you're gonna meet. Listen. You ain't won back-to-back at Lambeau since 07. That's 18 years of frozen dreams. 9-3 don't mean a thing when you walking into the place where Bear careers in. Ask Cutler, ask Trubis, ask Fields, ask Cal. No mercy coming, no mercy. Lambeau's the slaughterhouse. Jordan Love deal and he throwing you out. No mercy coming, no mercy. Bear season open. Your 5-game streak, consider it broken. Let's go. 108 wins, we own the series now. We passed you up in 2017, take a bow. Oldest rivalry, but the outcome's the same. Green Bay Packers always running this game. Jaden Reed back, he activated and ready. Romeo Dobbs, 5 touchdowns, hand steady, all the #1 seed. Enjoy it today, cause Sunday afternoon we taking that away. Half a game back and we closing the gap. First place is ours, Chicago's a wrap. Green Bay, go Pack go. Go Pack go. 108 to 96. Count. Welcome to Lambeau.